Hey guys, what's up? You're growing with Sean. What's up? What's going on? All right, so on today's episode of Growing with Sean, what we're gonna be doing? Moss pole. I watch a lot of other influencers and people who just care about their plants, and they seem to always have those moss poles that seem to be made a little bit out of something like this, and then they have the moss inside, and then they're able to attach their roots inside of there. So I'm gonna join the party. We'll use this for example. I went with these clear moss poles because I didn't know anything about making my own moss poles, and I just assumed that one moss pole is all the moss poles, right? But it is levels to this. And another important factor of if you're running a moss pole is that you have to keep the moss moist. I recently discovered that I can weekly just put them inside of a tub, or I can take them to my kitchen sink and spray water on them and get them moist. And you can walk around with a spray bottle. It's just a simple spray bottle. That's all it is. And I got them from Amazon for $6 for 2 of them. And it's gonna allow me just to spray. I do have this automatic water one, and it does really good. It's just that water starts flying everywhere. And sometimes all I want is a quick little to get done and just to simplify it. So that's the reason why I went with just a manual one that I could squeeze. I like to run plants on moss pole because it does make them grow faster, push out bigger leaves. Not necessarily grow faster, but just push out bigger leaves. Your plant has to be a climber in order for this to work fully. You can still put a plant that likes to hang and put them on a pole and they'll still do this thing, but they're not gonna give you the results that you're looking for. Another thing that you have to remember that when you're running your moss pole, not only do you wanna keep your moss moist, is that you want to make sure that the roots can actually grow into it because that's what's going to give you the bigger leaves. My leaves have not grown into this moss pole yet. Recently I discovered this thing called graphing tape, and I might have talked about it on 1 or 2 of my previous videos, but this right here allows the moisture that comes from the moss to be able to just stay inside of there without it going off. I have zip ties on here to keep the plant upright, but this graphing tape is going to allow these area roots to hold that moisture in from the moss and actually grow into the pole. And that, when it starts its own system inside there, that's when the real magic happens. So this right here is a philodendron lemon lime. I've had this one for about maybe 1.5 years. It's starting to push out some babies. I don't know how all that's going to work because when I water the plant, I have to put it in here, and I don't want to do anything to disturb it because I just repotted this plant probably about 3 months ago, and ironically, that's how I got the babies. So I guess it was a good repot. It's just I don't know what to do, and it's still too early in this phase to mess with it. Right now, my philodendron Dark Lord that we watched previously, that one, the baby ones, are still in a recovery mode. I believe that it's gonna do good. This is what we have going on right now. So everything is still looking good. It's looking a little bit dehydrated, but it's not. I checked the moisture on it. It's still running at a 3 to 4. I don't want to stress this plant out. So I'm not gonna let it dry out completely, but I am gonna let it go for another 1 or 2 days, just so I can make sure that I'm just establishing a new plant. So it's just gonna come with some of the stress. The mother plant is doing fine. The lower leaves, I had 1 or 2 lower leaves that I did have to take off. And I think that just was from just a little bit of the stress, but the top part is still growing. The plant is still 100% healthy. If I didn't have it tied up to the wall, I would show you an update. I may, if you want me to, I can take the phone off. Yeah, all right. We're just gonna move it over here, okay? So you can see that the mother plant is still doing really good, okay? All right, so what do we have here in order to construct our moss pole, right? Okay, so you're gonna need moss. You're gonna need some zip ties, just your zip ties. These ones right here are 8-inch. You can go with a 4-inch. I don't even know if they make 2-inch. You can go with smaller. It's just, I was trying to get this stuff kind of delivered fast, so I just went with whatever's gonna get me delivery the very next day. Unfortunately, I didn't even make the poles from the next day. I've had this stuff for about a week now, so I could have just took my time. So time is something that you don't need to rush, right? Anyway, So this right here is called hardware cloth. You get it from your hardware store. I paid $26 for this. It is 2 feet by 5. I don't know exactly how many moss poles we're gonna get out of it, but I'm gonna try to stretch as far as I can. All right, so let's just break down how much is this gonna cost and where to get it from. You're gonna go to your local hardware store. You're gonna get your wire cutters. They're gonna run you about 20. You can get zip ties. They're gonna run you about 10. And that's if you're getting a mega pack. You can get them down to 5. I just like to get stuff so I don't have to keep going back, because when I go back to stores, I overspend. So again, I'm sorry, apologies. Let's just go ahead and stick on tap. 20 for the wire cutters, $10. Your spag of moss, we're gonna give you $10, and this is gonna cost us 26. So we're gonna add in 26, 20, that's 46, 10, 56, and we'll say about $10. So we're looking at $66. Now I've already went to the spag of moss, so it's not a full bag, so I know we're cheating a little bit, but this is what we're gonna work with. So how many moss poles we're gonna get out of, that's gonna depend, because I know for Amazon for 20 bucks, you get 4 of the little plastic ones. So is this beneficial, or is the other way beneficial? That's what we're gonna find out. Go with what's gonna keep your plant growing. And then you can always upgrade later, but you can't revive a dead plant. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and cut this. Again, I have never messed with this before, so I don't know what we're gonna run into, but we're gonna run into it together. I have watched a couple of videos on how to do this. I'm not walking in here 100% blind. I wanna be honest with you on that. I just never personally made one yet, and I figured that why not let my first one be one we do together. Okay. So now we're gonna go with, first thing that I'm gonna go with after we get this part off right here, is that I'm gonna determine what the size that I want this pole to be. I see it being a problem or being difficult with is trying to get it to match when we're doing like our circular motion, so forth like this. And I think that that's a really good length. So let's put this one down here. And this is some strong stuff. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is just clear the table, because I showed you this tool that we're gonna be using, and I just wanna have enough room and enough space. So I'll go ahead and use my wire cutters, go ahead and open these up. And we're gonna do these on a straight line. Let's see here. That's gonna be a good size one right here. So I'm going to take a look at where it's at, and what I'm focusing on is this line right here. I wanted to hit one of these lines inside of here, because that's going to determine what the width is going to be of it. Now, depending on the size of your plant, that can go with what size you want to go with, but I believe it's just an all standard size. I've heard people say, hey, the bigger the plant, the bigger the pole, all of that, but all the poles always look the same size to me, so that's what we're going to go with. All right, so I sized it up. Now, what I'm going to start doing is cut away. Cut down each and every one of these. Now, you're going to want to make sure that you stay on line with these, because you don't want to go over to a next one and then you cut it and you wonder why it don't break off even. And you're probably seeing my room light up behind me. I know I'm seeing it in the background of lights turning on, so it's got a good time. What time is it? It'd be nice for me to know. It is 3:06, so my lights come on around 3 o'clock. That's news to me. I had them all set to come on around 2 o'clock, but when the lights went out that time, and I just had to reset. In my world, if something works, we don't try to fix it more. We just let greatness be, you know? All right. Down. Now we're gonna find out if I went down a straight line or not. We got it. Okay. The room feels so much better when all the lights come on. Just want to say that. It's crazy. Okay. So what we're going to do is make sure that this is bent so that it's easier to zip tie together. And we're going to go ahead and put one zip tie at the end first, just to keep it together while I'm putting the moss inside of here next. So we're going to go here. You loop it through however way you want to do it. Main thing is making sure that it actually gets looped through, right? So let's go ahead and slide. Hear that noise? Okay. Maybe it doesn't sound as satisfying as it did on my way. So next we're gonna get our moss. Now for the sake of time, I'm not doing this in no particular way. I'm just going in the bag, dropping it in here, okay? Oh, I forgot one thing. I am so sorry. This is something that I probably should have led with. Now, I've heard somebody say you could use a PVC pipe. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know, but what I did, Home Depot or Lowe's, I went to Home Depot. I got this for free. I went to the little scrap section and I picked up a couple of pieces. I don't know if you're supposed to pay for them or not, but nobody said anything to me, so we'll go with it. So this right here is just so that way I can actually get the stake into the dirt or to the soil when I'm getting ready to plant. So we're just gonna stick this right here. Okay. Again, I'm using this so I can just job it in at the bottom so that way the plant can start growing. And we should be good. Now I do have my board right here. I do have that towards the back of it because my plants always grow up in front. And that's the way you want to put your moss poles up. So if you're growing like your plant, you want to have it facing towards the front because that's what you're going to have facing towards the light or facing towards your window. So we want to make sure that we have our moss in here. We want to have it as stuffed as possible because the last thing you want to do is try to go in here and stuff from the bottom or from the top to get this going here. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to skip a few. I can go back in each one and get to it, but for right now, I just want to go ahead and get this closed up because it hurts if it pops out or these little ridges that we cut if they stab you. So let's just go ahead and get that locked in and sealed. So now we're going to cut the end of these zip ties, so don't worry. Okay, so what I did was I took the board out that I had in there, and I guess since we're doing this together, I just found out we probably could have put the board in last to try to slide it up. Now we know. But the board, because I hadn't moistened it or anything, I would rather this ugly part that's gonna be back here, the zip tie, I would rather that kind of be behind the plant if I can help it, you know? And as you can tell, it's already held together. Now, just to be sure, because I am that extra person, I'm gonna go through here and just make sure that it stays together all the way. So I'm gonna put a few extra ones. So this is what our pole is looking like. Now what we're gonna go through, we're gonna go ahead and cut our zip ties. Just gonna cut them back some. You could use scissors if you didn't want to use this, but since we already have them and we need them anyway, why not go ahead and knock things out, right? Plus, you might have to have some really strong scissors to do that. Moss pole is done. That's it. So next thing what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some water on here. However way you wanna do it, and you just wanna moisten this, run water all the way through here. Basically, it should be drenched, just dripping with the water. And that's how your moss pole is gonna be hydrated. And moving forward with that, if you have a big plant that you can't just take or move, so forth, then you just wanna have like a water bottle or something that as you're doing, you're just spraying. So simply put, this right here does have water in here. So you would just go through here and you would just moisten your pole just like that. On every 3 or 4 days just to see if it's holding this moisture in, and just kind of just spraying and keeping it so it never dries all the way out. Once your moss pole dries all the way out, all your nodes that turn into area roots that was growing inside of here, done. Okay, so let's keep it pushing, right?